is a place on Earth where two ancestral currents collide, where the surface of the sea hides an order of power more brutal than any kingdom ever built by man. Beneath this calm surface, gigantic shadows move. It is a pod of orcas. From the opposite direction, another predator approaches. 6 meters of muscle, more than 50 triangular teeth, sharp as scalpels, and lifeless black eyes. It is the great white shark, a masterpiece of 400 million years of natural selection. Two powers, one same body of water. Only one will emerge as the arbiter of life and death. But the answer will not lie in strength. It is found in something much deeper, something that humanity took millennia to begin to understand. This is the story of the Sea of Japan, where every water level is a kingdom. Each species is a piece of the puzzle, and the ocean does not belong to the strongest. It belongs to the most intelligent. But to understand who truly reigns at the top, one must first understand the world that created them. Welcome to the wild ocean, the brutal battle of the giants of the sea. Please give us a like and subscribe to the channel to give us more motivation to keep creating quality content. Don't forget to comment below with your thoughts on the video and tell us where you're watching from so we can discuss it together. Let's begin. If the ocean is a chessboard of power, clownfish are not pawns. They are the most sophisticated survivors of the lowest level. But the lowest level is not safe. No place in the ocean is safe. Above the reef, sunlight illuminates a vibrant world. A pod of bottlenose dolphins passes quickly. Starfish cling to the rocks. Sea urchins move slowly among the corals. In the mid-pelagic zone, the twilight zone, another species patrols. It has no bright colors. It is not small, and it does not live in symbiosis with anyone. A dorsal fin cuts the surface of the water. Slow, steady, like a blade on silk. The fragile beauty of the reef is just an appearance. Down here, the rules are completely different. Here size is power, speed is judgment, and teeth are the sentence. The mid-level patrol has arrived, 6 meters long, more than 2 tons, with more than 50 triangular teeth, and it is not here to admire the coral. The great white shark is a being that 400 million years of evolution have molded into an almost perfect predator. "400 million years before the dinosaurs appeared, before trees grew on land, the ancestors of sharks were already swimming in the primordial oceans. And while everything around them changed, continents shifted, ice ages came and went, and 5 mass extinctions erased most of life, the shark persisted. The great white shark is the pinnacle of those 400 million years of selection. A length of 6 meters and a weight of more than 2 tons. A body designed with a precision that no human being could improve. Its jaws contain more than 50 triangular teeth arranged in several rows. When a tooth is lost, another moves forward to replace it, a conveyor belt of weapons that never rests. Throughout its life, a great white shark can develop thousands of teeth. But what makes this species so fearsome is not just its bite. The great white shark is endothermic, an extremely rare characteristic in fish. A complex network of blood vessels, called the rete mirabile, keeps its body warmer than the surrounding water. Its muscles work harder, its reflexes are faster, its brain processes information better. Consider this. Most fish are ectothermic. Their body temperature matches that of the water. In cold water, they become slow, lethargic, and vulnerable. But the great white shark does not. In the frigid waters of Hokkaido, where the temperature can drop below 10 degrees Celsius, the body of the great white shark remains an internally heated engine, operating with sophistication. This is a crucial advantage. Its vision spans nearly 360 degrees. The system of electroreceptors in its snout, called ampulli of Lorenzini, can detect the heartbeats of prey hidden under the sand. But its most terrifying weapon is not a sensor. It is a tactic. The great leap out of the water, the most amazing hunting technique in the ocean. The shark dives deep beneath its prey, often a seal swimming on the surface. It looks up. The prey appears as a dark silhouette under the bright sky. From below, the seal is just a dark shape on the sparkling water, a perfect target with nowhere to hide. Then, the shark accelerates vertically at nearly 40 kilometers per hour, reaching its maximum burst speed. 2 tons of muscle launched like a living torpedo. The seal has no time to see, no time to react. The jaws close, then gravity drags them back down, and it's all over. Not all jumps are successful, but when they are, no prey has a second chance. The angle of attack, the timing, the power, everything is calculated with the precision that only 400 million years of practice can grant. If an engineer were tasked with designing a perfect underwater killing machine with optimal hydrodynamics, multi-layer sensor systems, and self-replacing weaponry, the end result would look exactly like a great white shark. Its life expectancy can exceed 70 years. Longer than that of most humans in much of our history. They mature late, reproduce slowly, and each individual is the product of decades of survival. They do not hunt just for hunger. They hunt because 400 million years of instinct tell them that opportunity will not wait. In the waters of Japan, they are the masters of the mid-level, where light and darkness meet and every living thing is a potential target. 200 meters below the surface, the mesopelagic zone, the light fades like a dying ember. 500 meters. Darkness begins to devour everything. Bioluminescent creatures flicker in the eternal night. 1,000 meters. The Bath hypelagic zone. Light disappears completely. The temperature is near freezing. The pressure is enough to crush a conventional submarine. If a diver could be at this depth, the pressure would be equivalent to putting a car on every square inch of their skin. The body would implode in a heartbeat. Most creatures stop here. Most do not dare to go further. But the Japan Trench does not stop at 1,000 meters. It continues to descend 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 and up to 8,400 meters right in front of the island of Honshu. A crack in the Earth's crust so deep that if you put Mount Fuji inside, its peak would still be thousands of meters below the surface. Not far away is the Mariana Trench, nearly 11,000 meters deep, in the Challenger Deep, the deepest point on the planet. At these depths, darkness is not the absence of light. It is a physical presence, dense, heavy, absolute. No eye can see, no ear can hear in the conventional sense. But the abyss is not empty. It has an owner. And this owner does not use eyes to see or ears to hear. It uses sound, but a type of sound that no other creature on the planet can generate. 236 decibels, the loudest sound produced by any existing animal. From the abyss, a click sounds, then another, and then a continuous stream of sound. Each click pierces the water like a living radar. It is as long as a bus. It weighs more than 45 tons. The head alone occupies a third of its body length. The largest toothed animal that has ever existed on Earth, the sperm whale, lord of the abyss. Inside this gigantic head is the spermaceti organ, a sac filled with tons of waxy oil whose exact function scientists still debate. But there is one thing they know for sure. It is the source of the most powerful sound ever created by a living being. 236 decibels with every click. It is not a call. It is an echolocation system, nature's most sophisticated sonar. The sperm whale interprets these echoes with its lower jaw and, from them, creates a three-dimensional map of the world in absolute darkness. It doesn't need eyes. It sees through sound. And its target here is the giant squid. The battle between the sperm whale and the giant squid is one of nature's greatest unsolved mysteries. No camera has ever recorded it. There is no light. There are no witnesses. Only the evidence remains. Circular scars, footprints of the squid's suckers etched deep into the whale's skin like battle medals. Some scars are as large as dinner plates, evidence that the squid they faced was not small. All adult sperm whales carry these scars, without exception. At invisible depths, titanic struggles are fought in absolute silence. Two giants wrestling in the night, a confrontation that human beings can only imagine. After a deep dive, the sperm whale can rest on the surface for hours, breathing, recovering, and observing the sky with small eyes that seem disproportionate to its colossal body. The social life of sperm whales is equally amazing. Females and calves live in pods in warmer waters. They protect each other, raise each other's children, and communicate with complex sequences of clicks. Scientists call these sounds coders. Adult males are different. They leave the pod, swim alone into extremely cold waters, solitary, enormous, and silent. A sperm whale calf weighs about 1 ton at birth after a gestation of 14 to 16 months. The mother feeds it with thick, fat-rich milk. The pod will take turns babysitting while the mother dives to the depths to hunt. A matriarchal society beneath the deep ocean, where survival depends on trust and cooperation. But not all predators in the Pacific dominate through muscle force like the great white shark, or through collective intelligence like the orca. There are beings that have evolved along a stranger, quieter, but no less fearsome path. They don't need to churn the surface of the sea. No need to jump out of the water in an explosive attack. They simply glide through the gloom. They perceive signals that prey don't even know they are emitting. And they read the ocean with an almost supernatural sense. In the warm waters of the Pacific, where coral reefs descend submarine slopes and currents carry life from the depths to the surface, a peculiar shadow appears. It has the body of a shark, but its head expands to the sides like an ancient mace. It is the hammerhead shark, one of the most unusual designs that evolution has created in the ocean. The hammerhead shark belongs to the family Sphyrnidae, which includes several species. Among them, the great hammerhead can reach lengths of more than 6 meters. Its expanded head is called a cephalofoil. To human beings, that shape may seem grotesque, but in the ocean, it is a complete hunting system. Eyes located at the ends allow the shark to widen its field of vision. The surface of the head houses hundreds of tiny electroreceptor organs, called ampullae of Lorenzini. They're capable of detecting the weak electrical impulses emitted by the muscles, nerves, and heartbeats of living beings. Under a layer of fine sand, a stingray lies almost absolutely motionless. Its flat body is covered with sand dust, and the color of its skin blends with the bottom, as if it had disappeared from the ocean. For many predators, this hiding place would be almost perfect. But the hammerhead shark doesn't just hunt with its sight. While gliding slowly over the sand, its wide head sways slightly from side to side like a living detector. Although the ray can hide its shape, it cannot hide its heartbeat. A tiny electrical signal is enough for the predator to pinpoint the location of the target. At the decisive moment, the hammerhead shark lunges, the sand explodes in a murky cloud, and the stingray is forced to abandon its refuge. The hunt is not noisy like the leap of the great white shark, but it possesses a cold precision. In the world of the hammerhead shark, the strange appearance is not a weakness, but a weapon perfected over millions of years. The hammerhead shark is not limited to hunts on the seabed. In many Pacific waters, they can gather in large schools, sometimes dozens or hundreds of individuals swimming together in the deep blue. They gather especially around remote islands, deep reefs, and seamounts. Seen from afar, the scene looks like a formation of ghosts crossing the ocean. There are no roars or chaos, only dorsal fins cutting the light and wide heads swaying gently in the current. Scientists suggest that these congregations may be related to mating or migratory orientation, also with the use of nutrient-rich waters around seamounts. There, the current hits the relief of the bottom and raises the nutrients. When the plankton explodes, the small fish arrive. When the small fish arrive, squid, rays, and larger predators appear. In that web, the hammerhead shark becomes an indispensable silhouette. The story of their lives begins in shallow coastal waters. There, mothers give birth to young that already have the miniature form of the adult predator. But those pups do not have a pack to protect them like the orcas, nor a mother who stays to take care of them. They do not possess a colossal body to intimidate enemies. They must learn on their own to hunt small fish and avoid larger predators. They gradually master the special head with which they were born. But the tragedy of the hammerhead shark lies in the fact that a being that can read heartbeats under the sand cannot perceive the greatest danger that looms over it. Fishing nets have no heartbeat, hooks do not emit muscular signals, and the demand for shark fins has turned one of the most sophisticated hunters into a human target. Because they mature late and do not reproduce quickly, hammerhead sharks hardly recover when their populations fall drastically. When a school of hammerhead sharks disappears from a sea, it is not just the loss of a strange silhouette under the water. It is the disappearance of a link that controls the ecological order. Sharks are not just killing machines, they are the silent guardians of the ocean, helping to eliminate weak or sick individuals and keeping prey populations healthier. In the deep blue of the Pacific, a school of hammerhead sharks continues to swim around a seamount. They don't have the resonant clicks of the sperm whale, nor the group tactics of the orca. Nor do they possess the violent leap of the great white shark. But they possess something fearsome in their own way, the ability to convert the weakest signs of life into a hunting map. In the Pacific, there are predators that use force to dominate, or others that use speed to execute. Others use collective intelligence to control the seas. The hammerhead shark uses something much more subtle, the ability to read the secrets that the prey thinks it has buried at the bottom of the ocean. If the hammerhead shark reads heartbeats under the sand, in the warmer waters of the Pacific there is another shark with a different reputation. It is not subtle like a living detector, nor explosive like the great white. It is tenacious, bold, and dangerous in its own way. It doesn't only hunt weak prey. It roams the ocean like an inspector of every opportunity, a machine of predation that turns almost anything into food. It is the tiger shark, one of the most feared in the tropical Pacific. The tiger shark can measure more than 5 meters. Its name comes from the dark stripes on the juveniles that fade with age, although its hunting nature never disappears. With a wide head, strong jaws, and serrated teeth like curved saws, it can cut meat. It can break turtle shells and process prey that other sharks cannot swallow. In Hawaii, the Philippines, or Australia, they patrol reefs, estuaries, and open sea. It is a predator and a cleaner. Fish, birds, turtles, rays, carcasses, and even human objects appear in their stomachs. It is the most omnivorous of sharks. But being a generalist doesn't make it less dangerous. It doesn't hunt in a hurry. It approaches slowly, almost indifferently, evaluating the target. A turtle that comes out to breathe may think it has time, but for the tiger shark, a few seconds are enough. It attacks from below, breaking the shell with a bite. Its perseverance allows it to hunt in murky or shallow waters where other large fish do not enter. It patrols the reefs at night, when small fish lose the safety of the light. It is part of a giant biological recycling system. Its life is of a characteristic cruelty. The mothers give birth to young that must fend for themselves from the first second. But not even they can against human changes. They fall into nets, are hunted for their fins, and suffer the degradation of their habitat. An animal evolved to devour opportunities now faces plastic, metals, and oil. When the tiger shark disappears, the ecosystem loses its cleaner and guardian. They keep the prey populations healthy by eliminating the sick. Their presence reminds us that in the sea, nothing is totally safe. The tiger shark is an ancient message. In the ocean, you survive by being able to eat what the sea puts before you. But even the most perfect killer has something to fear, and that which makes a 6-meter great white shark flee will appear later in our story. If you also feel drawn to the secrets of the ocean, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time. For now, on a remote coast, a very different creature struggles to crawl onto the sand under the cover of darkness. No teeth, no speed, no weapons, but with time. A beach in southern Japan at night. A large, dark mass slowly crawls out of the water. Every movement on the sand is a titanic effort. A body designed to glide in the water must now struggle against gravity on dry land. The sea turtle, a reptile that has swum in the oceans since the age of dinosaurs. And tonight, this female returns to the exact beach where she was born. Perhaps 40 years ago, perhaps more. The instinct of natal fidelity. The ability to return to the birthplace after decades of wandering the vast ocean. The turtle digs the nest slowly, with patience, using her hind flippers like spoons. Then she deposits the eggs. She covers the nest, erases the trail, and returns to the sea without looking back. From this moment, the eggs depend on one thing: temperature. Between 45 and 70 days later, the sand begins to move. Dozens of baby turtles, each the size of a human palm, emerge from the nest. The only instinct that drives them is to head toward the light reflected in the sea. They run, if you can call that desperate flapping on the sand running, with their small bodies wobbling, falling, and rising to keep going. But between the nest and the sea is a miniature desert full of enemies. Seabirds dive from the sky. Ghost crabs wait in the dark. Every small step could be the last. The distance from the nest to the water may be only 30 meters. But for a baby turtle weighing less than 30 grams, those 30 meters are a marathon between life and death. For every 1,000 baby turtles that emerge, perhaps only one survives to adulthood. That is the law of the ocean. But this cycle is currently threatened, and the greatest threat does not come from birds or crabs. It comes from rising temperatures. The equation is frighteningly simple. If the temperature rises just a few degrees, an entire species will lose the ability to reproduce normally. But even the sperm whale, the largest, deepest, and most powerful solitary hunter, is not at the top of the food chain. It possesses immense strength, but it also possesses immense loneliness. And in the ocean, solitude is a weakness, because the true power in the ocean does not belong to the strongest. It belongs to the most intelligent, and the most intelligent never hunts alone. We return to the surface where light returns, where the waves break on the cliffs, and where a pod of beings move. They are synchronized and organized with a coordination that no human army could equal. The orca, the name killer whale, is one of the great errors in the history of taxonomy. Orcas are not whales. They belong to the family of oceanic dolphins. The orca is the largest dolphin on the planet. The male measures 7 to 10 meters, weighs up to 10 tons, with a dorsal fin nearly 1.8 meters that cuts the water like a sword. And its brain is one of the largest and most complex in the animal kingdom. Its speed is nearly 55 kilometers per hour, faster than any shark. But speed is not the orca's main weapon. Its main weapon is collective intelligence. When hunting herring, orcas group schools of fish into a dense sphere called a bait ball. They spin below, releasing bubbles to create a barrier. Then they take turns ramming the sphere, paralyzing prey with powerful tail slaps. Each orca has a role. Every movement is calculated. There are no orders, only an understanding built through thousands of coordinated hunts. Wave washing is a second technique. When a prey takes refuge on an ice floe, the orca pod swims in perfect formation to create a large wave. This wave is strong enough to overturn the ice or sweep the prey into the water. This is a tactic that requires synchronization, absolute coordination, and a situational awareness that only an extremely intelligent being can possess. And the most extraordinary thing is that these skills are not innate. They are transmitted from generation to generation. The mother teaches the calf. The grandmother teaches the grandchild. Scientists call this culture, a term that was once reserved only for humans. Each orcapod has its own dialect, its own hunting techniques, and its own territory. Two orcapods living only a few hundred kilometers apart can differ in behavior more than the cultural difference between two human nations. And when the orca arrives, everything changes. There is no animal in the ocean that does not fear the orca. It's not because they are the biggest. The blue whale is bigger. It's not because they are the fastest. The sailfish is faster. It's because they are the only ones who bring it all together. Strength, speed, intelligence, and numbers. Even the great white shark, 6 meters long and weighing 2 tons with 400 million years of evolution, will leave. The shark doesn't fight. It doesn't challenge. It simply leaves the area. Researchers in South Africa have documented this phenomenon. When orcas enter a territory, great white sharks disappear, sometimes for months at a time. Individual strength must yield to collective intelligence. 400 million years of evolution must yield to a few million years of brain development. The ocean does not belong to the strongest. It belongs to the most intelligent. The question has been answered, but this is not just a story of strength or intelligence. It is a story of connection, of how each link in the food chain, from the smallest clownfish to the most powerful orcapod, depends on all the others. And that answer opens another question, a larger, more urgent and more painful question. Will the most intelligent animal in the ocean be able to survive in an ocean that is changing? Because the ocean is changing faster than at any time in recorded history. Seawater is warming. Currents are shifting. Plankton, the base of the entire food web, is beginning to decrease in many seas. Microplastics float at every water level, from the surface to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Sea turtles mistake plastic bags for jellyfish. Fish larvae consume plastic fragments thinking they are plankton. In Okinawa, the coral is suffering from bleaching. This phenomenon occurs when the water warms up too much, causing the coral to expel its symbiotic algae. Without algae, the coral dies. Without coral, the clownfish loses its home. And when the clownfish loses its home, the anemone loses its cleaners. When the anemone weakens, the entire reef community falters. One link breaks and the entire chain shudders. It is a domino effect. Sea turtles lose nesting beaches due to rising sea levels. The great white shark loses fishing grounds because its prey migrate following the change in currents. The sperm whale loses giant squid due to deep sea temperature fluctuations. And the orca, the most intelligent of all, loses the food web that its intelligence cannot replace. If in the warm waters the ocean shines with corals, clownfish, and schools of silverfish, on the northern edge life takes on a completely different shape. There are no more tropical colors or soft light passing through reefs. There is only ice, wind, freezing water, and ice floes that collide with each other. They sound like giant bones breaking in the middle of the ocean, in the Bering and Chukchi Seas, where the Pacific touches the Arctic world. A colossal being drags its heavy body. Its skin is thick, wrinkled, and full of scars. Two long white tusks sink into the ice like ancient blades. It is the Pacific walrus, one of the strangest and most powerful marine mammals in cold waters. Seen from afar, the walrus may seem slow, clumsy, and almost lazy. It lies piled up on the ice in gigantic herds. But that impression is a mistake. Beneath that heaviness is a body designed to live in a world that very few species could withstand. An adult male can weigh more than 1,700 kilograms. The thick layer of fat under its skin protects it from the biting cold of the North Pacific. The rigid and sensitive whiskers around its snout are not just ornamental. They are hundreds of living sensors that help the walrus detect clams, snails, and organisms from the seabed. They look for prey in the dark and cold mud below. It doesn't hunt by speed. It does not need the jumps of the white shark or the group tactics of the orca. The walrus dominates in another way, through weight, resistance, and the ability to turn the frozen seabed into its dining table. When diving, it uses its snout and whiskers to sweep the bottom. Detecting buried prey, through a powerful mouth suction, it extracts the tender meat from the shells. It leaves the empty shells scattered on the bottom like footprints of a silent feast. But the most fearsome symbol of the walrus is its tusks. They are not just weapons, but survival tools. The walrus uses them to drag its enormous body over the ice and to keep the breathing holes open. In breeding season, they serve to display strength to its rivals. A male with large tusks not only looks more terrifying, he is sending a clear message. This is my territory. On the narrow ice platforms, hundreds of bodies push and grunt. Males collide chest to chest and hit each other with their shoulders. Sometimes they use their tusks to slash the opponent's thick skin. Not all confrontations end in death, but each scar is a story recorded on the body. In the midst of that chaos, the young must learn to live in a world of high pressure. They are born on the ice or on the coast, attached to their mothers for protection. A calf that strays from the herd can be crushed in a stampede, or it can become a target for polar bears and orcas patrolling the edge of the ice. But the greatest danger for the walrus today does not always have teeth or dorsal fins. It is the disappearance of the ice itself under their bodies. The walrus needs sea ice as floating resting stations. From there, it can dive into shallow waters rich in food, and then return to rest. When the ice retreats too far from the continental shelf, they are forced to gather on dry land in massive numbers. In those dense crowds, any unusual noise can cause a stampede towards the sea. A being that weighs hundreds of kilograms can survive snowstorms and bloody encounters. But it becomes fragile when its world of ice fades. The Pacific walrus is proof that the ocean does not only have fast predators or tactical geniuses. There are species that survive through constancy, a massive body, and ancestral migratory memory. They depend absolutely on an environment that changes day by day. On the Bering Ice, an old walrus raises its head in the cold wind. Its white tusks shine under the pale light of the north. Around it, the ice continues to float and the waves continue to hit. On the remote edge of the Pacific, a silent question arises. When the sea of ice is no longer a sea of ice, what will these white-tusked warriors cling to continue existing? A world begins where two great currents meet. 165 million square kilometers, 25,000 islands, one ocean. The Pacific, the largest body of water on the planet, stretches from the Arctic to the Antarctic, covering almost a third of the Earth's surface. But not all parts of this vast ocean are equally rich. There are waters that are almost deserts, while in other places, life bursts forth with incredible abundance. The coast of Japan is one of those places. From the south, The Kuroshio Current brings warm tropical waters that flow along the archipelago with immense speed and heat. From the north, the cold, nutrient-rich Oyashio Current descends from the Bering and Okhotsk seas, carrying millions of tons of plankton. Where these two currents meet, a miracle occurs. Warm water meets cold water. Nutrients from the depths are pushed to the surface. Algae bloom. Plankton thrives. And from here, the entire food chain is activated. The Kuroshio-Oyashio convergence point is one of the largest oceanographic phenomena on the planet. Equatorial heat and Arctic cold create a colossal energy frontier. This is why the Northwest Pacific is considered one of the richest fishing grounds in the world. The herring arrive first, by the millions, so dense that the surface of the sea turns silver. The mackerel follow, then the squid, and after them, the apex predators. From the frigid Hokkaido in the north, where sea lions and seals rest on ice floes, to the tropical Okinawa in the south, where coral reefs glow like submerged cities. The deepest place on Earth is also not far from here, the Mariana Trench, at nearly 11,000 meters below sea level. It is deep enough to submerge Mount Everest and still have more than a mile of water above it. But the Pacific is not only ruled by predators with sharp teeth or sensors that read heartbeats. There are giant beings that cross the ocean not as killers, but as ancient travelers. They carry in their bodies the memory of migrations of thousands of miles and songs that resonate in the depths. It is the humpback whale, one of the most magnificent symbols of the Pacific, capable of turning the calm surface into a gigantic stage with a single jump. The humpback whale can measure between 12 to 15 meters and weigh tens of tons. Its name comes from the characteristic hump it forms when preparing to dive. Its scientific name refers to its large wings in allusion to its colossal pectoral fins that can measure a third of its body. In the deep blue, these fins help them maneuver with incredible smoothness. They allow a body heavy as a truck to move with the grace of a ballerina. Each year, they perform one of the longest migrations in the animal kingdom. They leave the cold seas of the North Pacific, rich in food, and swim thousands of kilometers to warmer waters to reproduce and breed. In the cold seas, they eat almost non-stop to accumulate energy. But in the breeding waters, they can fast for weeks or months, living on their thick layer of fat. It is a journey operated by memory, instinct, and ancestral roots transmitted for generations. When feeding, they use one of the most spectacular tactics, the bubble net. A group dives under a school of fish and expels bubbles in a circle. creating an invisible wall that traps the prey. Then, from below, they open their giant mouths and emerge in the center of the silver sphere. Thousands of liters of water enter their mouth and are expelled through the baleen, retaining the food. It is not blind force, it is technique, coordination, and social intelligence. But the most mysterious thing is their song. The males emit long and complex sequences of sounds that repeat like a submarine musical score. They can last for hours, traveling through the ocean as signals of life in the blue world. Scientists believe it is related to reproduction, but its complexity makes it some of the best music in nature. And then the jump occurs. A whale of tens of tons comes out of the sea, turns in the air, and falls with an explosion of white water. No one knows for sure why they do it. It can be communication, hygiene, or simple social interaction. Whatever it is one of the most powerful images on the planet. However, its life is full of risks. The calf is born in warm waters, measuring several meters, but it is totally dependent. It must suck milk rich in fat, learn to breathe, and survive in seas where orcas can appear. The mother will protect it with her body, pushing it to the surface if necessary. Humpbacks were hunted almost to extinction, but after international efforts, some populations have recovered. Even so, they face collisions with ships, fishing nets, and acoustic pollution. If the schools of fish shift due to the change in temperature, even a giant can become vulnerable. In the vast Pacific, the humpback whale continues its journey. It doesn't have the shark's teeth or the orca's tactic, but it possesses the ability to turn the ocean into a living symphony. When a humpback sings, it's not just a call, it's the echo of memory and of an ocean that still knows how to sing, if human beings grant it enough silence to be heard. But life does not begin in the abyss. It originates in the sun-drenched shallow waters, in the most vibrant coral reefs on the planet. And there, among millions of creatures, a small species guards one of the most extraordinary secrets of the ocean, the reefs of Okinawa, a labyrinth of colors beneath the warm waters of southern Japan. Seen from above, a reef is like a city with roads, alleys, tall buildings of hard coral, and delicate gardens of sea fans. Although they occupy less than 1% of the seafloor area, reefs are home to more than 25% of all marine species, 1% of the area, but a quarter of all life. No human-made structure has ever reached such a proportion. Every square inch of coral is a battle for territory between shrimp, crabs, marine worms, snails, and hundreds of small fish. They are all squeezed into a space smaller than a closet. And in this coral metropolis, a small resident swims among the lethal tentacles of an anemone without any problem. The clownfish, less than 11 centimeters long, has colors so bright they seem almost like a provocation. Any other creature that touches the anemone's tentacles would be paralyzed in an instant. Thousands of stinging cells, called nematocysts, fire venom faster than a bullet, but the clownfish swims through them as if it were its home, because it is. A layer of glycoprotein mucus covers its entire body, acting as a chemical shield that prevents the nematocysts from recognizing it as a target. In return, the clownfish cleans parasites from the anemone's tentacles and uses its vivid colors to attract prey. It is a perfect symbiotic pact written in chemistry without the need for language. But the most astonishing secret of the clownfish is not in its mucus, but in its gender. Each clownfish community has a strict social structure. There is a single dominant female, the largest in the group, a single breeding male just below her. The others are non-breeding males waiting in line. All clownfish are born male, without exception. When the female dies, the largest male does not look for a new partner. His testosterone levels drop, estrogen spikes, testicular tissue transforms into ovaries. In a few weeks, the male becomes a female completely, permanently and irreversibly. Science calls this protandrous hermaphroditism, a clinical term for one of nature's most spectacular transformations. The next male in the hierarchy ascends to the role of breeding male, and the cycle continues. No conflict, no competition, just a precise chemical operation like clockwork. A creature smaller than a finger lives in the arms of a killer and possesses the ability to rewrite its own biological design. In the ocean, survival does not belong to the largest or the fastest. Sometimes it belongs to the one who adapts best, to the one who is willing to change their own essence when circumstances require it. The clownfish understood this long before Darwin wrote his first line. The Pacific also houses a strange question of evolution, a giant body, flat as a silver disc, almost without a tail, that swims slowly with its dorsal and anal fins. It is the ocean sunfish, one of the heaviest bony fish in the world. It can measure more than 3 meters and weigh more than 2 tons. Despite its size, it is not a fearsome predator. It eats jellyfish, squid, and larvae. Its body ends in a structure that appears truncated. They usually float near the surface, on their side, sunning themselves. This helps them warm up after diving in cold waters and attracts birds and small fish that clean their parasites. It is a living island that offers food to others. But the most shocking thing is its capacity for resistance. On some coasts, sea lions can attack them, tearing off their fins and leaving mutilated bodies. The incredible thing is that the fish continues to swim, moving what is left of its fins, as if the instinct for life did not allow it to stop. It is not an explosive hunt. It is a titanic and bizarre moment. With its thick skin and persistent nervous system, it is one of the ocean's rawest images. A female can lay 300 million eggs, one of the highest numbers in vertebrates, but almost all are devoured before growing. The sunfish is a living paradox, giant but not aggressive, slow but persistent for millions of years. Among predators with sharp teeth, there is a shark that breaks all prejudices. It is the size of a bus, but it does not hunt seals or tear meat. It is the whale shark, the largest fish in the world. Its blue-grey skin is covered with white spots, unique to each individual like a fingerprint. It looks like a starry sky moving under the sea. Despite being a shark, it is a filter animal. It opens its enormous mouth and absorbs water loaded with plankton, fish eggs, and larvae, to then expel it through the gills. Its teeth are tiny and it does not use them to bite. Its power lies in taking advantage of the smallest forms of life. It is so peaceful that human beings can swim by its side. It is a creature that makes any diver feel tiny without resorting to violence. Its mouth is not that of a man-eater, but a gigantic living filter. The danger is not in being devoured, but in being caught in the water current it generates when feeding. They appear seasonally in places where plankton is abundant, as part of a peaceful ritual in which the largest fish in the world lives thanks to the smallest organisms. But its size does not make them invincible. They suffer wounds from collisions with ships, fishing nets, and the effects of climate change. It is a paradox, a gigantic shark with an almost sacred peace, which reminds us that power is not always born from ferocity. Sometimes it is born from living in harmony with the pulse of the ocean. Japan has started to expand its marine protected areas. There, fishing is limited, coral is restored, and turtles can nest without disturbance. In Okinawa, fishermen and conservationists transplant coral fragments onto cement structures. They hope they will grow and form new submarine forests. It is a slow job. A reef takes decades to form, but a summer that is too hot can turn it into white skeletons. The ocean can house up to 1 million species, but we only know 240,000. We are changing a world we still don't understand. Reefs, with less than 1% of the area, sustain 25% of marine life. Today, the ocean faces serious threats. Climate change warms the water, bleaches the coral, and shifts the plankton. The sea absorbs more CO2, becoming acidic and weakening species with shells and corals that are the base of the pyramid. By changing the plankton, small fish change. Then sharks, whales, and orcas suffer the domino effect. Plastic pollution reaches all levels. Between 19 and 23 million tons of plastic reach the water each year. That's 2,000 garbage trucks daily. A bag is a jellyfish for a turtle. A ghost net catches seals for years. A microplastic moves up the food chain until it reaches the superior predators. 38% of sharks and rays are threatened, and 44% of corals are in danger. If sharks die, the chain loses its guardians. If the coral dies, thousands lose their home. But it is not just a story of loss. Nature is resilient. A well-managed reserve allows fish to return and reefs to heal. Every coral planted and every net removed is a step for the ocean to heal itself. We cannot control the currents, but we can reduce plastic, choose responsible fishing, and lower emissions and noise. In the ocean, each being has a piece of the picture. The clownfish, the coral, the turtle, the shark, the whale, and the orca. If one piece is missing, the picture changes. If many are missing, the ocean will disappear as we know it. Remember the start of our story. The great white and the orca face to face. They are still out there, competing under ancestral laws, but both depend on a world that changes fast. The question is not who is more powerful, but if there will be a place for all. Are we willing to protect this world before the song of the whales fades away and the corals are only bones? If this story has made you see the ocean differently, give it a like. Each interaction helps to spread the message of protection. Subscribe and activate the bell for more trips. Today we met the giants and small ones of the Pacific. Which one impressed you more? Write your favorite in the comments. Thank you for joining us. In Japan, the waves continue breaking and the Kuroshio continues to flow. The future does not lie in the instinct of the shark or the intelligence of the orca, but in the choice of the human being. We are the only ones who can understand what they are losing, and the only ones who still have the chance to save it.